Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. I'm your host, Stephen Nooner.
And a darn good one, I might add, depending on the day. And I'm Bob Gibbons, and I'm excited today, Stephen. Have you ever been on a Segway?
I have not.
You've never been on a Segway? You have missed out in your life.
I know. I tried to ask the mall cop one time if I could ride his.
Okay, that's not the right person.
It is on my list, though.
All right, so I've been on two Segway tours. I loved them, and I was on one in downtown Dallas.
Did you wear a fanny pack?
I did not. I don't even, well, I do own one, but I don't wear one. In downtown Dallas earlier this year, and I didn't know it at the time, but the guy that owns those tours is our guest today.
All right.
Chris Clary is the owner and founder of Nations Tours, and they have 6 locations around the country: Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, San Diego, Portland, and L.A. I'm going to assume that that's Los Angeles and not Louisiana.
No, the whole state of Louisiana. It's Long Beach, California, to be exact.
Long Beach. Okay, cool. So he owns that. They've been in business for 7 years. And a little interesting tidbit: Amy Clary, that we had on the show a few months ago, is his wife. So it's an entrepreneurial family.
Yeah.
Exactly. So welcome. Glad you're here.
And
Thank you
it's
for having
Nation Tours, I believe, not Nations Tours. And I think it's nationtours.com, Bob.
Ow, you are so smart, Stephen.
You know, most people just call us Segway Nation. So we were Segway Nation for about 4 years, and we couldn't trademark a trademark name, which is why we changed our name. So we wanted something similar to Segway Nation. Most of our clients still call us Segway Nation. So
As long as they keep calling.
Yeah, as long as they keep calling and swiping their credit cards, that's all that matters.
Well, we're glad you're here. We like to start off with the wisdom of others to get the show kicked off. And today's wisdom comes from Dr. Casey Wiley. Evolve or die.
That's it?
That's it.
You're the king of long quotes.
I know. I've got a long one if you want it.
No, I don't. I like evolve or die. So I assume that means you have to be a chameleon. You have to change with the times. And
I mean, everything is changing seemingly at a faster and faster rate. And, I mean, you've got to almost have that mindset that you're always going to have to be adjusting. He was talking about it because he lost everything in Hurricane Ike while he was in med school. And he literally had to finish. He went from being planted in Galveston, UTMB, and went from college to college, doing each class at every medical school around Texas so that he could graduate on time.
You know, that reminds me of another story. There was after 9/11, there was a guy who was a motivational speaker, sales trainer kind of guy, and those guys are on the road all the time. And of course, when all the planes got grounded, he couldn't do it. You know, he couldn't go to anywhere to speak, and so that business just died. But he figured out how to fix it, or not fix it, but how to get around it. And so he started creating customized training programs on CD and shipping them to the clients. And his business boomed while all of his competitors were complaining about,
until
I'm
CDs
dying.
went out and he died again.
well, maybe he's podcasting now. I'm not sure.
What do you think, Chris? Evolve or die?
You've got to evolve or you will die. That's the way it works in just about any type of business. The businesses that all 3 of our companies are in. One of our biggest challenges this year was losing Groupon and Living Social. We didn't necessarily lose them, but they're definitely a small percentage of what they were over the last few years.
Man, they were huge.
And then one of the other things that I didn't know would affect us was the value of the peso versus the U.S. dollar. When we looked at our year, we had our toughest year financially. It was the first year we didn't grow as a company. And when we ran the analytics, it told us that Latin American customers are no longer visiting. We're in LA, we're in San Diego, we're in San Antonio, we're in Austin. So when the peso is almost 21 to 1, when it used to be 10 to 1, the value of their dollar is half of what it used to be. So we've got to adapt and chase after other customers and replace those customers. So those are the two main categories that we've got to replace. So evolve or die.
Maybe you should go to Europe then, because it's, we have a pretty strong dollar relative to the European currencies right now.
European tax laws. California is bad. Europe would be even worse.
Yeah, but I just went to London and Dublin this year, and boy, that'd be awesome to have been on a Segway going up and down the Thames River.
We actually, they're actually banned in London, sort of like New York City. A lot of the heavily congested cities around the world, they don't allow the Segway tours. We looked at partnering with a Segway and bike company in Europe. Just the problem, like with so many other companies that expand outside of the U.S., is repatriating the dollars here. And that's been in the news a lot lately because companies like Apple have billions and billions of dollars overseas, and they won't repatriate it because then they get taxed on the European side and then they get taxed on the American side. So that's another big factor.
Big political issue.
Oh, huge.
Huge.
Well, so Stephen, you got an interesting question you were going to ask?
Sure. So tell us something about yourself that maybe not everyone else knows.
Well, not a lot of people know that I only went to community college for 2 years. I never graduated. Back then, I was working. Had a good income. I was a warehouse manager at the time, and I had a great salary, great benefits. I think they gave us 4 weeks of vacation a year. And the whole purpose of going to college is actually to get a well-paying job with good benefits. It's not to go to college for the college experience. And so many people go to college now for the quote-unquote college experience. They end up $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 in student loans. And I paid cash for all my classes, didn't take out any debt, got a good job, was with that company for a number of years and loved it. And, just went on to another career after that, and same thing, had a good income. I decided a while back to go and take online classes, but even then it just kind of wasn't worth my while. We started focusing on starting our own businesses, investing in real estate, and I had an insurance career that took off before I started Segway Nation Tours. So that's what I focused on. I focused on working hard, building my investments, saving money, rather than going to school.
So to me, that's an interesting perspective, and I paid my way through college largely, and my degree was in entrepreneurship, right? And so the majority of my friends that graduated with the same degree all have great jobs, great careers, but very few of them actually started their own business like I did. And I think when I look back, it's part of the way the curriculum was set up, and I think schools of entrepreneurship have improved. And more students are actually going through the curriculum and taking their first shot and starting their businesses while they're in school. But I think that's an interesting kind of, because you go through all that training and education, and it's like people want that. If they have the debt, then you're just sort of shackled. I mean, so then it's hard to just go and start. Plus, you're sort of trained not to fail through the whole process, where entrepreneurship to me is a lot about failing.
Yeah, the other thing that cracks me up about people that go to college is they'll go to a private school where they have to spend $40,000 to $60,000 a year for an education as a social worker or psychology or something where you can't get a job, and if you do get a job, it's not even going to pay you what it costs you to go to school per year. It's just crazy.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people, and there are some great schools. SMU is one here in the Dallas area that a lot of people go to, and people go there. And I read an article the other day, and the premise of the article was, why does it cost more to go to SMU than it does to Princeton, I believe it was, or Yale? And it's because a lot of the people that get jobs out of SMU, especially telecommunications, oil and gas, the legal field, they do get these huge salaries that justify their huge expense for college, for their university, whereas so many others, you've got to go into college with a plan, and if you don't go into college with a plan, you get a degree in whatever, and you get that much student debt, well, you're going to come out of college with all that debt and not a plan to get a job or get a career that's going to be able to pay for that.
So how did you get into your business now?
Well, my wife is always right, and it was her idea. So I was in insurance sales. I sold outsourcing, PEO, employee leasing services for a number of years for a company based out of San Antonio. I was mildly successful, and around 2008, 2009, the market kind of crashed. I remember we had flown to California and signed up a lot of clients in San Francisco. And I remember watching on the TV, and I don't remember what the Dow Jones dropped that day, and I was like, this isn't going to be good. And we had sold a lot of business through a large insurance carrier that was teetering on bankruptcy whenever it all ended. And we lost a lot of clients because of that, especially our large national clients. So I literally went from making a great income selling outsourcing services to having to pick up a job waiting tables and bartending on the weekend. Because not only did I lose the majority of my client base, the few clients I had left, and I say few, there was probably a few dozen, had shrunk in size. And I was heavy in oil and gas. Because most of my clients were out in West Texas at the time. I'd focused on Midland and Odessa. So, it kind of hit me hard. So I knew the market was going to come back. And then my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, had an idea to start a Segway tour business. And I said, that's a crazy idea. And then I ran the numbers and I said, that's a crazy good idea. And here we are.
So how do you start that? I mean, do you just go like to the city hall and say, hey, I want to start running Segways up and down your sidewalks?
Well, the first thing you want to do is create a business plan. And sort of like Steven was saying a second ago, a lot of people, they go to college and they look at entrepreneurship or take entrepreneurship classes, but they don't want to take the risk of starting their own business because they're saddled with debt or they just don't have the personality for it. My wife and I, we're not risk adverse at all. We'll go into an investment, whether it's real estate or one of our other companies, and we'll make sure it succeeds, or at least we'll try as hard as we can. So the way it kind of started is a business plan, and the numbers looked good, and then we bought 9 Segways, bought out a small competitor after that, and off we went. We've got about 200 Segways right now in our fleet. We've got offices in 3 states. We had offices in 4 states, but we actually sold our Florida operations this summer.
So, but did you have to get a license from the city to operate a tour?
Some cities do require it, and a good story about that is California. We were trying to get set up in Long Beach, and it took 2 months to get a permit to operate. And even then, they said that we would need another permit for a special events permit. Well, I had our branch manager from San Diego drive up there, and he literally sat in their office every morning from 8 to 5 or so for about a week. And finally they said, hey, pay us this one-time fee of about $2,500 and good luck.
Wow.
They were trying to, California's known for red tape, but if you kind of sit there and work with them, they'll work with you and they'll get it done. And every city has different laws. Some cities require you to be on the streets. Others, they don't want you out at night. Others, you have to be on sidewalks only.
The thing that was interesting to me when I took your tour in downtown Dallas is the tour guide knew a lot of people. I mean, as we were driving around or riding around through downtown, he knew the cops. He knew other people that were running other kinds of tours. And I mean, it was a real collegial kind of, vibe. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, everyone downtown knows each other, and so you want to keep a good reputation downtown. There's actually about 6 or 7 competitors here in DFW. There's one locally downtown Dallas, and there's another company that drives in and does tours. So I would say there's 3 of us downtown Dallas, and they're both really good companies. They're both upstanding companies. The owners are great people, and for the most part, downtown's such a small area that everyone knows each other and you see each other. The same people go to lunch at the same time every day, so you wave and say hi and you get to know them eventually.
Well, we're going to go to break. How do you know when it's time to put your tail between your legs and shut down a location? We're going to talk to Chris about his experience of closing Tampa when we get back. Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
My name is Gabriel Ontiveros. I'm the managing partner at Essentials London. I'm here with Bob and Steven, and apparently they need a little bit more of my help. Come see me, guys.
Welcome back, everyone, to the next level. We're here with our special guest, Christopher Clary of Nation Tours. And if you want to learn more about Chris or Nation Tours, please visit nationtours.com.
You are so well. I can't say that on FCC regulated
You know
radio.
I love you.
All right, so Chris, we were talking about. You mentioned Groupon. You alluded to Groupon earlier. Give us an idea of how you market your business and how did Groupon and Living Social play into that?
Well, there's multiple facets. Whenever the Groupon and Living Social craze hit probably about 5 years ago, they offered the daily deal. And in single days, we would sell about 1,400 or 1,500 Groupons. Wow. In one city in a single day.
Wow.
I believe we did over 1,400 in Austin in a single day, the first February.
And how many of those will actually take the tour, cash it in?
It depends on your business. If you're a restaurant and you're offering, a bakery and it's $5 or $10 Groupon, probably, 50%. We're a high ticket item. So even at a discounted rate, people are paying $35, $40, even $42 in some of our cities. And they're not buying just one. They're buying multiple for a family or for gifts.
So they're going.
We actually only kept track of it for the first year. And after having about a 98% redemption rate, and those other 2% probably just hadn't redeemed yet. They were probably sitting in their inbox waiting for Christmas or waiting for spring break. So our redeem rate is almost 100%, I would say.
Boy, that's incredible. So what dial back? I mean, because I've seen it. We used to seem like my wife bought everything on Groupon, everything. And she still comes up with some cool things for us to do off of it, but it does seem that it's really died down in craze. How much of a slide have you guys seen with that?
I believe last month in November, we sold 200 company-wide over 6 locations.
Whoa.
So as far as a profitability factor, it hit us, but not that hard because it was low margin anyways.
Gotcha.
It has definitely affected our staffing levels because if we're not taking out 500 Groupons a month per city, well, we don't need as many tour guides.
Sure. So how are you marketing it now that Groupon's not really as big a factor?
For us, the way we always looked at Groupon from the beginning is I don't want to say it was a fad, but we didn't realize it would last this long. So we actually never really changed our marketing very much. We're strong on Google AdWords, strong on advertising online. We tried Facebook ads and a few other websites for a while, but really Google's where it's at. One of the things that we've done is really trying to get into the community, joining the convention center, the visitor center, the Chamber of Commerce, and really allowing people to put a face with the name of our company with someone actually shaking their hand in person.
What about the top things to do on TripAdvisor or other places online? Is that a factor?
It is. Us and in almost every city you look at, if you look at things to do on TripAdvisor or one of the other sites, review sites, a Segway tour company is going to be in the top 5. I would say top 3 when it comes to tours, if not number 1. I believe we're actually the number 1 and number 2 tours in Dallas, the 2 Segway tour operators. So there's actually a lot of tours in Dallas. Locals don't realize how much tourism there is until you get downtown and you're like, oh, we have the Super Bowl here, NCAA Final Four, and the NBA Finals, and the World Series. There's so many big events here that Dallas, DFW as a whole, draws millions of tourists every year. And so we get in with the convention center, the visitor center, And there's a multitude of other ways we advertise, but those would be the biggest ones.
So talk a little bit, and I alluded for the hook before we went to the break, closing Tampa and, that choice and how you guys came to that. And are there lessons learned through that?
There's huge lessons learned. And I think as an entrepreneur and a business owner, a lot of us think that we're always right and we make the right decisions. We opened Tampa and we had some challenges up front. And over the first 12 months we owned that store, it was tough. We probably went through 3 different entire fire and hiring retraining phases in the company.
Oh my goodness.
Where we would fly someone from corporate in Austin out there for a month to hire and retrain. We tried different forms of advertising. We tried different forms of marketing. We were actually inside of a hotel, so we even gave special discounts to the hotel for guests that would come out. And we tried everything. And as a business owner, sometimes you've got to put the tail between your legs and say, hey, this is not a profitable, viable business. I thought it was. My business plan said it was. And my projection said it was. But it's like they say in the stock market, you've got to let your winners run. And that's what we've done with most of our stores. But you've got to cut your losses short. And you've got to have a timeline as an entrepreneur where you say, hey, we're giving this thing 12 months and then cut it off at 12 months. And whether you buy out your lease, you sell to a competitor, or you just declare bankruptcy. For us, it was in a different state under a different federal entity. So we looked at all the options, and another Florida competitor actually bought out all of our assets and liabilities, except for a few things, and took over our lease actually. Wow. So they bought our space from us. Being a Florida-based company, they thought that they could make it work better than us coming in from another state because they knew the local market.
So why do you think it didn't work? Was it that you didn't have, ownership there watching over it, or is there something about Tampa that is different than elsewhere?
There's a couple of factors out there. I think one of the factors we found is it's very hard to recruit employees to work in downtown Tampa unless they've got a really well-paying job. If you're in banking or finance or real estate, yeah, you'll commute to downtown or live downtown. If you're making 10, 12, 14 bucks an hour as a tour guide or even a tour manager at, 35 or 40,000 a year, well, most of our employees lived over the bridge, either in St. Pete or Clearwater area. They wouldn't commute in for that. So our employee turnover was through the roof. We never factored that in because we had Austin and San Antonio and San Diego and Portland, cities that young people that work for those wages beg to work in downtown, want to live downtown. They want to hang out after work downtown. Tampa didn't have that factor, so it was very hard to keep employees.
Huh.
Interesting.
And number 2 is a lot of the people that vacation in Tampa, well, they're actually out in the burbs. They're going to Busch Gardens, which is way north Tampa. They're going to the beach. They're going to St. Pete. They're, renting a boat. They're not necessarily hanging out in downtown Tampa. And I would say those 2 factors, the tourists aren't locked into downtown like they are in Austin or San Antonio or San Diego, and getting employees into work was very tough.
Interesting.
So you guys are a tour company, but you also have a pretty significant dealer presence, correct? I mean, you're one of the top dealers?
For the last 3 years, I believe we've been a top 3 dealer for Segway. So I believe last year we were the largest authorized tour company in the U.S., and we were the largest Segway dealer. We're a platinum dealer,
wow.
And so we're top 3 this year as well. And we service Segways, we sell Segways. And if someone from Segway is listening to this, then we call them PTs. They don't like to call Segways. They like to call them PTs. So come take your PT tour.
Is that a personal transport, or what does that stand for?
That's exactly right. They call them personal transporters.
Okay.
Just like you have Lexus, and then Lexus has models, and you have Honda, and Honda has models. You drive an Odyssey. You drive a Honda, but you drive a Honda Odyssey or a Pilot.
Okay.
Well, Segway, I always say, call them Segways, just like a Kleenex. People call Kleenexes Kleenexes.
Sure.
So to me, it's a great form of marketing, but there's disagreements on that.
It becomes generic, like a Xerox or whatever. They want to keep their brand pure.
Exactly.
So how did you evolve into that? I mean, because you didn't start off as a dealer.
No, we started off as strictly a tour company. About 4 years ago, we decided to become a dealer. And one of the things that you learn as an entrepreneur and a business owner is one of the best ways to increase your margins is to vertically incline your business. And for us, that was us purchasing direct from the factory by being a dealer. So we became a dealer to do that. We can order parts directly. We get better pricing. Well, this year and last year, mainly this year, we've really focused our efforts on adapting and evolving, like you mentioned earlier, and becoming a full-fledged dealer, platinum-level dealer, where that is a huge focus for us. We're advertising. We're going after large accounts. We service about half the police departments in DFW now.
Wow.
I would say we service
All the malls around here too.
not a lot of the malls. We service a handful.
Around, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually good. Airports, we don't service any airports in DFW, unfortunately. There's a few other dealers here that service them, and they do a really good job. But we've made an effort to go after police departments especially, and we service police departments from New York City all the way to LA.
Wow.
Airports, professional stadiums are a huge client of ours for security, and we do service, sales. I'd say most of the money is in parts, batteries, tires, because the vice president of Segway flew in about a year ago, and we were joking over coffee, and he said, Chris, the biggest problem with Segway? And I said, I can name a couple, but what's your opinion? And he says, we made them too darn well. There's no money in service. He said, Chris, for as many Segways as you own and you've sold, how much money do you make in service? And I said, almost none. I never really thought about it. So the problem with Segway being a dealer is there's not a lot of money in service. Whereas you buy a car or an ATV or jet ski, you're expecting to service it. Consumers of Segways have the opposite. They know buying a Segway, there's no oil changes, there's no maintenance. You plug it in and you unplug it the next time you use it.
But how much does it cost the first time? If I want to buy just one Segway, how much is it going to cost me?
Well, I'll give you a special deal.
For you, $1 million.
Yeah, the service is going to be hard.
For you, I'll give you $10 off. No, I'm just kidding. So the price of new Segways, so there's a variety of models. The two most popular is the i2, which is the one you see police officers riding. It's called the i2 SE. Tour companies use them. That one's MSRP is about $6,700. We do offer discounts for cash deals, check, financing, etc. And then the X2, which is the off-road one with the ATV wheels, MSRP is about $7,200. And then we've got a fleet of about 200 used.
And what's the range in that? How many miles can I go, or how long?
The typical one people buy, the i2 SE, you get about 25 miles. Okay. And the beauty of a Segway, unlike other forms of recreation, like ATVs, jet skis, etc., is you buy a Segway and use it for 4 years, and guess what? You can sell it for darn close to what you paid for it when you bought it new. So I always say look up used pricing that's 3 or 4 year old Segways, and then you'll see the resale value that you'll get.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for being our guest today. It's been fascinating. We could talk a lot longer. If you want to know more about Chris's business, please go to nationtours.com. If you want to know about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com.
If you want to see a picture of Bob riding a Segway with a fanny pack, go like Next Level Show.
If you want to see Steven trying to clear up a flood that he created in here while we were recording, watch the video.
Have a great week.
See you next week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.